Next on the 6 o'clock news, storm trouble south of the Twin Cities leads the governor to call out the National Guard. While in the Twin Cities, it's been a long day filled with frustration.
When your car was new,
while most people slept, the plows did their best to try to clean up after the megastorm. But by morning, it was more of the same. Roads and cars that were immobile, impassable, just plain impossible. Good evening, everyone. It's time for the big dig out after the worst storm in Minnesota history, a storm that left more than 28 inches of snow on the ground.
But this storm has left more than snow. At least 4 people have died as a result of the weather, and dozens have hurt themselves trying to operate their snow blowers. It's a storm that has frozen the roads and the cars that drive them. To find out how people were getting around today, let's go to Esme Murphy, who's overlooking Interstate 394. Esme, is there much traffic out there?
Well, Amy, there is traffic, but people aren't going very quickly here on Interstate 394.
And now, live from your 24-hour news channel, Randy Meyer, Inga Hammond, meteorologist Phil Schwartz, and Eric Gislason with sports. This is Eyewitness News.
There's nothing like a snowstorm to bring people together. With more than 20 inches of snow on the ground, that extra push is what many Minnesotans needed to get going this morning. Well, good evening and welcome to day 3 of our record-breaking snowstorm.
It has been a day of digging, shoveling, sledding, and we've got it all right here for you coming up. We'll update you on road conditions throughout the metro area. If you've been slipping and sliding, you're not alone. We'll preview those tricky snow emergency parking rules. And later in the show, find out how this snowstorm has been a big boon to some local businesses. But first, for those who spent yesterday on the inside looking out at all that snow, today was a day to start digging.
That's right. As Mike Binkley reports, though, turning back the blanket of snow could take the whole weekend.
Walking was still the only way to get around for some people, with cars buried or stalled. But we did find some ingenuity. Can you believe a snow bike? Or how about this guy who skied across the hood of the car he had grown so tired of shoveling around?
It's an old beat-up car. It's not good for much else. It's buried right now. I'm not going to drive it, so might as well get some speed out of it somehow.
It's one major project to spend hours shoveling the sidewalks and driveways so you can get out, but then you have another major project to turn to, digging your car out.
Maybe Carl just said I don't need to go anywhere for the weekend. Slowly shovel it out, but I can get by without a car for a few days.
Some people have done without their cars because they had no choice. Here's Mike Larson from Miller Towing pulling a stranded car out of a giant drift so the plows can come through.
This one had snow all the way up to the roof when I started pulling on it.
People often find after they dig their own cars out from the curbs that the roads aren't that much better. For those who aren't originally from Minnesota, there aren't words to describe it.
This is my first time. Really this bad. So I'm kind of like speechless.
Here on I-94, 2 women spun into a drift facing the oncoming traffic. They got pushed out by a motorist and a TV reporter. Just down the road, this guy with a plow and 4-wheel drive vehicle joined the ranks of the stuck after he had worked so many hours to clear away parking lots.
Yeah, I'm kind of enjoying the breather I'm getting right now.
It's exhausting for everyone involved, but there's still plenty of time left in the weekend. Mike Binkley, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
Yeah, a lot of time. City snowplowing crews say it's taking much longer than they figured to clear all the roads. Snow emergencies remain in effect for both Minneapolis and St. Paul. In St. Paul, there's parking. I hope you got all that right now. Let's find out what is the latest with this storm with our Phil Schwartz.
That's right. He is in the Weather Center with details. And Phil, although the snow has stopped, it seems like the temperature has really dipped as we set at around 25 to 30 miles an hour. Very bad conditions.
And it's hard to believe, but it's even worse to our south. Here you can see stranded vehicles on County Road 42, that's located near Rosemont. And Highway 169 was shut down south of the Twin Cities. Our chopper pilot Dale Dobish, photographer Bob Fishnick found what resembled the highway near Belle Plaine. One truck driver from Texas ended up spending the night in Belle Plaine after his rig got stuck.
Driving south on 169, trying to make it to New Ulm, and an ambulance came by and flashed its lights. I tried to get over, get out of the way, and got a little bit too far on the side of the road, got stuck.
That's all it took. These roads were typical of what went on to the south of the Twin Cities today. And to find out what's next for the people of southern Minnesota and the Twin Cities, we're going to turn to Matt Balo in our...
It's going to stay cold for a while, too.
All right.
All right. Hear more from you in a bit, then.
Thanks, Phil.
Well, Twin Cities International became a place to doze overnight for hundreds of stranded air travelers. The airport closed for about 3 hours, leaving weary passengers stranded and looking for a little shut-eye wherever they could find it. A couple of guys even stretched out in a boat that was on display. The airport reopened earlier today, but this morning shut down one runway for a half an hour because of high winds and blowing snow.
And for an update on how things stand at the airport right now, let's check in with Northwest Airlines Director of Corporate Communications.
About 30 to 40 minutes behind schedule, and considering what I just heard on the weather, that sounds pretty good.
So you're 30 to 45 minutes, that's the average wait out there this evening?
That's right. Right now our flights are mostly running on time. We are experiencing a few delays, and we hope that we're going to get through this one all together.
Now, John, if I were a traveler heading to the airport tonight, any tips you could give me on surviving my wait?
Yeah, call ahead, make sure your flight is operating, make sure it's leaving on time, and most of all, leave a lot of time to get to the airport. This is no time to try and cut it short.
John Austin, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Randy.
Okay.
Well, while the Twin Cities are beginning to dig out from under this snowstorm, things are still under cover in Duluth. If you thought we had it bad, Duluth has gotten more than 35 inches of snow, and it isn't over yet. Snowplows can hardly keep up with this winter storm. They've also been hampered by abandoned cars and 30-mile-an-hour winds. Some people are actually relying on a volunteer snowmobile brigade to shuttle food supplies like baby food and medicine. Well, life is also a little difficult today in southeastern. May not be fixed for days. Our reporter Jeff Crilly is in Albert Lea, and he'll have more for us at 10.
And Jeff had planned to be back from Albert Lea by now, but the roads were so bad he just couldn't make it. That's a problem drivers all over the state are facing tonight. The Department of Transportation says roads are in poor driving conditions. Some are closed entirely, including I-90 between Austin and South Dakota. Thoroughfare 60 between Worthington and Windham is closed. That's in the southwestern part of our state. Also closed this evening, the northbound lane of I-35 near Albert Lea. Coming up next, we'll continue our winter storm coverage. There's no business like snow business, especially when there's a blizzard.
Wild, absolutely wild. Can't keep up.
And find out how our winter cleanup is helping some local store owners really clean up. And later, the story of wedded bliss and how the blizzard almost stopped this trip down the aisle.
And you went to get virtually anything done. I think nothing better shows the power of this mobster than the fact that he forced the FBI to get under his sheets in order to convict him.
The story of Kid Cam, Sunday at 10 on Channel 4.
As we told you, it's bad everywhere, and south of the Twin Cities, the situation is so bad, Governor Carlson today called out 35 National Guard members to help with relief. The hardest hit areas, Mower and Freeborn counties. And our Brad Good joins us by phone, or actually we have a live picture from Albert Lea. Brad, tell us what the situation, what's going on there now.
Well, Amy, as you can see behind me here, the city of Albert Lea remains in the grips of this megastorm. They were hit very hard down here, and they're still trying to recoup. The below freezing temperatures added to the blowing winds out here, for the most part, have paralyzed efforts to restore power. Now, hundreds of power lines are still down throughout this region, and as long as these winds keep whipping, more poles will snap and more trees, of course, will come down onto these power lines. Interstate Power Company said as of this morning, 10,000 customers were still out of power. Now, after battling the icy conditions all day long, utility crews have been able to restore most of the power to the downtown area and some neighborhoods to the west and to the northeast. The cleanup process is still ongoing and underway. Many residents are doing whatever they can to clear their way. They're taking chainsaws to the trees across their lawn to clear their property. The Red Cross is still very concerned for the health of the elderly. They told me more than a dozen senior citizens were taken into emergency rooms at a local hospital here by noon today because of problems, illnesses due to the severe cold and people not getting to shelters. Most people are still staying at a shelter at the Northbridge Mall. That's the only place that had power as of last night. More than 200 people bedded down there last night, and more are expected as well tonight. Now, Interstate Power officials told me that outstate crews are now mobilizing and moving through the neighborhoods here. They will be connecting people, individual homes that have been knocked out on power. But again, Amy, they're saying that it could be Monday, Tuesday, possibly even Wednesday before most of this area has heat and light again.
Long time to wait. Okay, thank you very much. Brad Good live in Albert Lea. Tough time for those people.
This blizzard has hit the state from the farthest points to the south, like Albert Lea, all the way up to International Falls. where search crews have been looking for a missing Canadian man. The bodies of 2 other men were found after their unattended boat turned up on Rainy Lake. The search for the 3rd man in that group is being considerably slowed by the snowstorm. And 3 hunters from Mound have been found alive and well on Swan Lake, that's near Nicollet. They were rescued by Department of Natural Resources crews. Again, they were not hurt.
Again today, the Twin Cities International Airport was the home to stranded passengers as air travel got off to a slow start. There were some cancellations and delays this morning, mostly on incoming flights. Hundreds of stranded passengers who spent the night at the airport made the best of their time by sleeping, reading, or somehow entertaining themselves. All day long, major delays pushed travel plans way behind schedule. Late-night plows took a run at the Southdale parking lot to prepare for today's customers, but even though the mall opened today, it seemed like only the die-hard shoppers were out. You can imagine that. Store owners had been hoping cabin fever would have set in and people would be anxious to shop, but there weren't a lot of takers today. Mike?
Well, you heard the parking warnings yesterday. No parking on snow emergency routes overnight, no parking on the odd sides of Minneapolis streets or the unplowed streets in St. Paul today. And many of you got up early this morning to dig your cars out, often with the help of a neighbor. The snowplow drivers are working as fast as they can to clean off the streets. The Minneapolis City impound lot says they're usually extremely busy during these snow emergencies because many cars get ticketed and towed if they're in the way of a snowplow. But the impound lot is quiet today.
The snowstorm is so bad. The city is, just having a heck of a time removing the snow. We don't have the room down here right now because we're blocked up with snow. So the squads are tagging, and the only towing that they're doing is anything like an emergency situation or if something is blocking an intersection or blocking a street or alley.
So until the plows can clean out the city impound lot, the snow plows will just be going around the cars out on the city streets. City of St. Paul officials say they're not doing very much towing either, and I guess that's one bright spot. It's so bad out there that people are not getting towed, and that's good. Well, we got a couple other notes that we want to pass along. The post office says it's doing its best to deliver the mail, or at least it was earlier today, wherever it's possible. The MTC says it is running about 2 hours behind in the city routes. It is not making any promises about suburban bus routes at all.
Well, we're going to hear from Matt Baylor.
And the roads are going to be plowed because, first of all, they don't know, and secondly, it's tying up the lines in case there's an emergency. Yeah, so if you're wondering when your roads are going to be plowed, just wait. They'll get to them eventually. It's going to take some time because this has been an incredible storm. Most of the snow is now over. However, we are going to have a problem with blowing and drifting snow through the night tonight, and it looks like temperatures will stay cold for the next several days. But not everybody is upset about the snow. Some people are actually enjoying it. Why not get outside, maybe do some cross-country skiing out in Lindale Farmstead Park. That's where this is, right by Kings Hill. A lot of folks did get outside, at least some folks did, and why not? Look at that. I think they still have their costume on from Halloween. Checking what we have outside right now. Currently, with just some flurries going on, a temperature of 17 degrees, but northwest winds at 26. That's creating a wind chill of 19 degrees below zero. High temperature today, that's it, 17 degrees, some 33 degrees below our average high temperature. Low temperature so far, 15, obviously not a big temperature spread, but we could get lower than that by midnight, and by tomorrow morning, probably a new record low. Precip, just 1/100th of an inch. Sunrise tomorrow morning, 6:55, and the sun is going to set tomorrow evening at 4:58. Looking at how much snow has fallen so far, you get the idea the heaviest snow has been just to the north of the metro, if you can believe that. Some places even got more than the Twin Cities. You get up from, say, East Bethel towards St. Croix Falls and on toward Duluth. This is the area that has seen over 2 feet of snow. Matter of fact, right now on the ground in Duluth, they have 33 inches of snow. They've seen over 36 inches. Now, this is snow depth, not how much snow has fallen. In the Twin Cities, we've seen 28 inches. But officially on the ground right now, we have 23 inches of snow. Still a lot of advisories in effect across the state. Blowing snow advisory most places. However, you get up here in the northeast,